And it's live, I believe. There should probably be some noise that I should turn down before it loops back. 1 second. One day I'll get this right. One day. That's not today. Welcome to Vlog Thursday. I don't know the number now. Number 463. It's on that screen over there. I should just pull it up so I'm looking at that camera. What are we talking about today? Ooh, going independent, UniFi cameras, and some Homelab Q&A. Fun times. Obviously, for those of you that subscribe, or at least quite a few of you watched the video, I guess me resigning was a pretty big deal based on the volume of watch. So yes, I am separated from CNWR. I figured I'd at least bring that up for the couple people that didn't watch the video, because over 100,000 views. I thought everyone would just ignore that video. I mean, that was my thoughts at first, but here we are. Nonetheless, and none the more, I have other things to discuss as well. And, well, yeah, okay, cool. I got that muted so I can drag these screens around. And I want to talk about the other things that are in the title here. I mean, I'll answer whatever questions, because I always like to be very transparent with everyone and talk about all the fun stuff and goings on. And I mean, the simple thing I'll answer right away is being back to an independent consultant means I'm doing a lot of consulting, and I've had a lot of bookings. So thank you for all the people that reached out, and thank you for all the people that wanted to book some time with me to dive into topics and have me sort out firewall problems, such as I'm not going to say I'm rusty, because I always, before a meeting, review the details very clearly to make sure everything is exactly answered prior to, like, I have any notes that the client gave me so we can go through and have a punch list on there. And this person had a pretty complex PF Sense setup, and I was like, give me, I haven't done one maybe this complicated in a minute, but got through it, actually found a couple things he could definitely improve some security on. And so the consulting went really well. It made me think that maybe I should do an updated version of a couple things in PF Sense, because I've realized there's a few nuanced changes that they have changed, but they're not much. But maybe I'll do a couple updates on that. So I actually set up some PF Sense systems as well. Kind of related to that, well, actually very specifically related to that. I'm setting up some UniFi VPNs, and that is going to be some talking points, because the UniFi VPN works very different than PF Sense one. So I've done a lot of PF Sense VPN work. And the more I do UniFi VPNs, I can tell you where the shortcomings are. And I think that might be a fun video, because I've always said, and I knew it was putting them into words and making it clear that sometimes make it hard. So the concept for a video and then the tactical doing the video are very different. And the differences are stark when it comes to the way you do PF Sense VPNs and the way you do UniFi VPNs. UniFi has and this is completely philosophical differences in the way they're designed. A very permissive VPN system. This is fine and probably the best for a lot of people who are usually contacting me because the VPN doesn't work in PF Sense. So I get a lot of consulting on the VPN doesn't work, and it's because there is a series of steps, and my videos detail this out in PF Sense. Like, these are the series of steps you need to do to get the VPN working. You can't do some of them. You must do all of them. You must do all of them exactly in these order and in this prescribed way. The UniFi VPN's like, if it works, it routes, and here we go. They made it really easy. I love the fact that you can download a config file and just upload it to a device. That's great. And then you have permission to all the networks. That's great. It just defaults to pushing all the routes. That can be good if that's the goal, to get you, the user, remote access. That's less good if you want granular control, because you have to set up in PF Sense what networks you want in the VPN, and the opposite in UniFi, where you have to declare what routes you don't want. So it's a little bit, it's not necessarily, it's a philosophy difference, and it's you can make anything insecure. So people will probably, and I do agree, it is a better security posture to deny by default. Definitely not wrong, but you got to figure out where the tech support lies. So I get it that it's a philosophy difference. I kind of wish, UniFi was deny by default, but then they would have as many problems as people have setting up PF Sense VPNs, who are generally angry because it's essentially having to list it. So it'll be, I think, a fun discussion either way. So it's probably worthy of a new video. I was thinking about actually comparing pfSense and UniFi. They're very different now than they were a year ago when I last did the video. I think the last time I compared the two were December of 2024. So coming up here on December of 2025, there's been very little changes at all in the pfSense world and a huge number of changes with UniFi. Matter of fact, version 10 just went release candidate. So there's a lot more to the UniFi ecosystem, and pfSense isn't an ecosystem. It's a firewall versus UniFi is not just a firewall. It's a firewall that also has switching and access points all integrated into a singular control plane. So you're not comparing apples to oranges, so I'd have to narrow it down to the firewall for the discussion, but it's still a interesting topic for sure. I imagine a lot of you think kind of the same way. It's philosophically different, since I've seen someone iterated here. By the way, in case you're wondering, it's not because I found myself unemployed that I happen to have a drink here at 4:15 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It's because I was doing an event with my wife who works for Blumera, and they were doing a cocktail mixing class, which is fun. They did it with a bunch of the MSPs, so I joined them for that because we have the I got to do the drinks. The company my wife works for, Blumera, they sent out these mix kits, and then they had someone train people how to mix it. It was a good way to have a engaging online Zoom session where you're all doing something while also talking about the managed IT service businesses and product. So you didn't just have to listen to a product pitch, you got to mix some drinks. And the cinnamon in this, let me just, so you guys could get a view of it here. If I can show the cinnamon stick, there we go. Yeah, the cinnamon and it's just, the flavor on this is amazing. So I'm very carefully sipping it. I am the, actually, I'm laughing. I coughed a little bit reading what you wrote. I am the biggest UniFi stan, but I recently evaluated UniFi cameras versus Reolink cameras entirely of its dependencies. I said Reolink plus Frigate was a better solution. Now, if you're willing to deal with Frigate, yeah, it's not a bad solution. I like open source solutions. I am a big fan of them. I also just need my cameras to work. I need to be really easy for like my wife to access and do the things that needs to be done. Therefore, I didn't feel like Frigate was the right choice for that. But it may be the right choice for you. I'm just saying it wasn't the right choice for me. I actually really like the UniFi camera ecosystem. So we'll talk about that too. Hey Tom, your opinion on TP-Link is well known, but what do you think of TP-Link hardware with open source software like OpenWRT? Thanks. Oh, actually, here's where the exception would probably be is, what do I think of TP-Link with like OpenWRT? I don't think it's a bad choice. I'm not a hater of OpenWRT, but someone emailed me the other day and I was very frank with them. They were asking about OpenWRT. I think it's called Nether something. I don't know. There's another company called Nether that makes a firewall. And they were asking about like pfSense and OpenSense. And I said, I don't really spend time on OpenWRT or some of the other IP Fire was the other one I'd asked about. I don't spend a lot of time on them because they're so lacking in features compared to like pfSense. So if you were to ask me, hey, I need an open source firewall, I'm still going to recommend pfSense if you're looking for an open source firewall. And for those of you that love OpenSense, feel free to use it. I'm just more a fan of pfSense. But I don't think there's anything wrong with OpenWRT for most people's needs. So context matters. Do you just go, hey, I just want an inexpensive box that runs some open source software that routes packets? You're not spending a lot of time doing very complicated configs. You're not going to run into the shortcomings that you may find with something like OpenWRT compared to pfSense. Then it's perfectly fine. I don't think there's really any issues with it. I think it's well maintained to my knowledge. I've not done deep dives on it, but I think through peripheral reading of it, because I see when there are security issues, they seem to keep up to date with them. So I don't think OpenWRT is a bad choice. TP-Link, and I think Asus, and someone can correct me, because I don't keep up with a lot of the smaller hardware vendors out there, but I believe they offer a reasonable priced piece of hardware that you can use for it. So I don't think they're bad at all. I mean, once you remove the firmware from companies that are doing a poor job maintaining it, then a lot of it that's what it comes down to. It's like the iPhone, obviously a controversial in some ways, but overall, let's just say the iPhone is looked at as a quality device. Whether you love or hate Apple for different reasons, it's still made in China. It's still made overseas, but it is made to a vendor spec. It is made to run the software that they put on it. Therefore, the software makes really a massive difference in any of these devices. So whether you get a TP-Link or some other variation of a model, the OpenWRT and open source software is probably a lot more ideal to run on it. Long-winded answer, but hopefully that clarifies that. Yeah, UniFi interface is definitely, and that's what it comes down to. It's not that you can't do cool things with Frigate. Matter of fact, my friend Mike is working on a super cool project with his Railstream. I don't know if he'll see this, but he's got an idea to take Railstream, which is his company that watches the trains, and use some image identification tools to be able to have it identify objects. And it's going to be just a neat thing to talk about because it'll be a feature enhancement for Railstream. And I'm going to do that video soon. I have just a lot going on I have to catch up on before I can kind of get to the Railstream video. If you hadn't noticed, I cranked out a few TrueNAS videos lately. I just did 2 of them. I have some more. I just reached out to Alan Jude because if you follow the 2.5 Admins podcast or even the T3 podcast, any raid has been a topic. I would love, and Alan Jude's going to check out his calendar about coming on. He's been on my channel before. He owns Clara Systems, and they are going to, I want him to talk about any raid. I mean, why not hear about it from the people who are working on this stuff and his deep involvement in the whole ZFS ecosystem. I think any raid is going to be pretty cool. A lot of you are the people usually, I say you because probably a lot of you are Homelab users, but to the other side, what was surprising was the demand from the enterprise world for AnyRaid. So there's a lot of opportunity for AnyRaid, and I figured, hey, why not do a deep dive on a topic? So I'm excited about doing that video. So I've been busy doing a lot of that stuff. Helpful advice: enable mouse mode for the OBS chat window and set top chat to call. You're not seeing all chats. Oh, it's because it's on top chat. Interesting. That's a good point. So, hold on. See, that's a different computer. Oh, yeah. Well, here's what I'll do now that I can see it over here. We're going to go to camera 2. I don't feel like changing settings on OBS at the moment. I know what you're talking about. Noted, and will be fixed later. So in the short term, we'll just go to this camera because I like this camera. We just got to make my face bigger. And I guess we could probably make this bigger. So we want live chat. That's what we want. So we see everything. I would do a little plus here. All right. Okay, Phil Zoffrey. Tom, you're paying on TP-Link. UI interface is cleaner than Friddick. Howdy, Tom. All right, now we got a lot of stuff. OWRT deserves some attention. Helpful advice, enable mouse. Fair enough. One day I'll get good at OBS. Have you seen 40nets in the news again? Yeah, that's one of the reasons I was, I posted on LinkedIn about 40net too. Honestly, I agree with this statement greatly, that ASUS should just, why does even TP-Link? Hey, TP-Link, if you're listening, quit writing garbage software, just make hardware, donate to OpenWRT, support them. There's a great idea for people to actually like you. ASUS could do the same thing. Insert name of company that makes hardware. Get out of the software business that you're not good at. There's an idea. Donate to an open source project. Matter of fact, y'all could collaborate. You could get together and throw money at the underfunded and underappreciated open source developers that bring us our products that we actually love versus the firmware we hate that has bugs in it that we don't trust you not to have backdoors in. One day. Yes. I think the future of object NVR detection will change a lot in the next coming years. I think it has already. Yes, someone think of the poor shareholders. How will they extract value from us humans? How will they extract all the resources from us peasants if these shareholders cannot screw us over with terrible firmware and ShitIfy all the things they make? Have I done a review of the UFiber OL? What is a UFiber OLT? You might have to. I may have to Google that one. The answer is no, because I don't. Or I don't know the abbreviation, or not sure which. But let's jump over. And I'm going to do a dedicated video on this, but why not talk about it while y'all are here? I did do some switching, and I moved over to having UniFi cameras now. Yay! Look at all these cameras. Ubiquiti OL. What is a Ubiquiti OLT? Oh, the fiber things. No. I have not. Nope, never done a review on that. Oh, so the UDB switch and UDB IoT. Let me think. Perhaps Mr. Focal Fury. I have a few of these things. And we'll chat later about them. Because there might be one right here. There might be several other things that are over here. So, yeah, I might even have some extra for Thanksgiving. You know, maybe they were going to be a surprise. I didn't know when these were going to get announced. So, yeah, we should research this. I'll let you know if more are underway for Thanksgiving. So these things. Yay. All right. I don't know enough about them to... I'm not talking about those right now, because that's just... If you notice, the plastic wrap is still on it. So no, I have not really reviewed it yet. I'll just be straight up honest. I really had every intention to, because I opened the box. I got that far. The box is open. Is the capacity in UniFi just logical recommendation, or can you technically add more cameras? You know, I think you can overwhelm an NVR. So yes, you can add more cameras, probably more than you want it to add, because the system will get slow. I would say that you definitely, oh yeah, this is the porch cam. Well, and I also have the notices set up. Let me go to the devices, because I have the crossing set up. Because you got to know when people cross the line. Sometimes people just cross the line. Sometimes they cross it coming. Sometimes they cross it going. But you can set up the line crossing. I want to do a deep dive, though, on all the features that they've added, because I've covered it. But in the last 9 months, I think since I last did a video, it is crazy how good. The cameras have just gotten... The AI stuff, I'm doing an updated video. I've already done one video on the AI key. I have to do another one, because since they released it and I did the video, I think it's been like 8 or 9 months. It's become much better. Like, it was good then, but they've leveled it up a lot. Now, one of my favorite things, I mentioned this before about UniFi, is the leveling up. Like, you didn't have to buy anything new. The system is better now than it was, but nothing changed other than software updates. That's an impressive feature. Now, I always tell people, buy on the features something has, not the features you were promised. And obviously, take that into consideration, because UniFi does keep improving their stuff, but they offer quite a good set of features without subscriptions or licenses on their camera system. I really love to punch that part home, because this system does what a lot of very expensive licensed systems do now. So it's not that these features are unheard of. They're unheard of in a subscription-free setup. Oh, and by the way, if you haven't watched DPC Technology, big shout out to a good video he recently did on the PTZ camera. I'm working on one as well. I didn't think to use it this way, but his video was really clever, because what he showed was a great use of Alarm Manager, where you can say an Alarm Manager, if I do, yeah, okay. So if we create an alarm, you can base it on yeah, there we go, line crossing. And watch his video on this, because this is neat. If someone crosses a line, as in someone comes out a particular door, you can tell the PTZ cameras to go to a location to look at that person. This is kind of cool. So if you have a PTZ and you have something in another camera that would trigger, you can then tell the PTZ to look over that way. This matters because I have a PTZ that generally has a nice wide angle look of what I think I want it to default to, which makes sense. My PTZ is on my driveway. So right now, this is my PTZ cam. But what if I wanted my PTZ cam to look over here? Why would it look over here? Well, that's easy. It needs to look over here because something happened. And when something happens, I want it to look. So I can actually take my other camera and say, if there's an alert, give me a second angle on that particular alert. I think that's just a really neat feature. Who does a PTZ watch when it's multiple people? It watches the first person. So this is one of the reasons, generally speaking, when you have a PTZ, if I were doing planning also involves client budget. So my suggestions are suggestions and not always what actually happens. But I would suggest, if you're using a PTZ, that if that area is so critical that you're worrying about multiple people, have a secondary camera that watches the area you always care about, but then let the PTZ do its thing, because of the exact problem you mentioned, where, yeah, if you have a PTZ, it goes and looks somewhere else. It's not looking where you want. So if my PTZ goes, hey, let's go over here. Well, now it's not looking at my driveway. So if your driveway is a really important place, keep one camera on the driveway and the other camera looking, where you want. By the way, this is kind of cool too, because you can look straight down. And it'll turn and watch people as they come there. You can also see that I should deal with the leaves. There's not many, but there's a little bit of leaves. I got the gutter guards to keep it. Oh, you know what? If my wife puts her face in the window, this is her office. So we can zoom in. By the way, the zoom's great on this. What's in my wife's window? Am I being creepy at this point? You can see things moving around a bit. Take a closer look at the stuff in the garden. Or is it rock garden? I don't know what you call that. Look at deer. You want to know what really happens with all my cameras. So we'll send it back. Send it back to home. Oh, that's kind of funny. I like that home is caching the pictures. Yes. If you really want to know what my cameras do, they track squirrels a lot. Well, they watch some people walking by. Mostly my cameras look at squirrels. So that's the reality of it. Yeah, and as Vocal Fury said, watch out for those dark doormats. Turns out if you have a doormat that's the same color as the boxes that the delivery people drop off, you may have a hard time discovering there was a box on there. Yeah, there's a lot of squirrels. There's some rabbits too. Oh, there's a cat. There was a cat last night. Where's the cat? Squirrel, squirrel, squirrel. Delivery person. Squirrel, squirrel, squirrel. There was a good cat from last night, I thought. Maybe not. Huh. Where? I think there's a cat by my shed. Playback. Let's go to the shed. There's the cat. That's it. It's pretty wild. Oh, I passed it as black and white. There's the cat, though. Look at that. That's quality right there. We're 86% sure it's a cat. I'm 100% sure. But it's all right. We get a percentage. That's what matters. Oh, the cat was... Yeah. But compared to Synology, I'm really happy with these. The Synology... People ask me about doing updated reviews on Synology. And one of the challenges with doing an updated review on Synology is there's nothing new. I installed the Synology system almost 5 years ago. It's the same system 5 years later. I did other reviews before that. It just hasn't really changed. And I don't think there's anything wrong with the Synology. It's nice. It's basic. But if you want all these higher quality cameras, good processing, and all the extra features that you get with UniFi, I think it's a good upgrade. I'm happy I moved to the UniFi system. It is far easier to find things in the UniFi system. But if there were, yeah, Ghost in the Shell reference. I get it. The cameras are set to use the adaptive recording. So let's go over to the devices. This is one of the things I'm going to walk through for setup for these. So we'll take this camera here, record settings. I believe, and I got to double check this with UniFi. What they say here is standard improves playback and compatibility for older devices, enhanced surprise, improves video quality while reducing storage size and uptime video. I'm going to assume the enhanced encoding is H.265. They just call it standard or enhanced in here. I haven't really dug into it. Maybe someone else can let me know if that is actual what they do. I wish they listed it as H.264 or 265, but I'm pretty sure it's all H.265 under enhanced. And that's how I'm setting up. I also really like a couple other features. They have adaptive for the recording. So these are set to record adaptive. And what that means is record in lower quality when there's no activity detected and automatically switch to high quality during a motion or smart detection. So that's a nice feature. Now, this is something, if I'm not mistaken, is it this new zone? Hold on. I think some of these cameras have an interesting feature. This is some stuff I got to make sure it's on where you can do enhanced, or is it the smart zone that does it? Yes. The smart zones have this support. You can choose a zone, and in that zone, you can say enhance the bit rate for that zone. So if you have a large image, but you want to compress some of it, you're like, give me a high res in this part so you can save some space. Like you can focus it down to say, give me higher resolution here. I think that's a really neat feature that they have that allows that. I like that there's loitering, vehicle detection, animal detection, et cetera as well. But that is a particular cool feature to say enhance this section, because this camera is probably not the best example. But let's look at my. We'll use a shed as an example. Go here. Add a smart zone. You could say, all right, I only really care about like if someone's standing in front of the shed. Like I want the best high quality data here because I'm limited. And so you would say, hey, enhance the bitrate zone to high for this here. That's a pretty neat feature. So I think that's just one of those nice things. Oh, some cameras, why do you have advanced? Because it depends on the camera. So recording mode, continuous, events, adaptive, yeah, standard or advanced. Some cameras have the advanced option. Some browser devices and viewpoint may not support advanced encoding, resulting in loss of video feed. So yeah, there's an advanced option for some model. It's not available on every model, so it depends which models you have. Yeah, all the cameras I have are PoE. Some of them are older cameras just because I already had them. And matter of fact, that's something I'm going to work on for a video. This is a G4 Bullet. This one's a really old camera, but by the way, quality-wise, I mean, the lights are off in my garage. You're looking at a black and white IR here, and if we go to the playback and we go to the garage, you scroll back here. I'm going to play back this event. Make it full screen. And that's good quality for a camera that's several years old. I mean, you're dealing with some challenging lighting because it's brighter outside than inside, but the camera quality in it, obviously there's some artifacting I can tell because I'm watching it here, but if I download it or grab a snapshot, it's still very crisp. But this is only a 2K camera, so not bad at all. Yeah, in the older cameras have held up well. Like I've got a lot of clients that those are up on buildings years later. I don't love that they yellowed, but yeah, it's not great. This is, oh, someone said like the scrolling is fluent. Yes, this is definitely like finding things makes it easier. Like here's my wife coming home. Hey, we're 91% sure it's a car. Yeah, the casing really got yellowed on those, but it doesn't seem to affect them. They work fine. They just have ugly yellow casings on them now. Hey, Cody, how's it going? But definitely the being able to smoothly do this is just really nice. By the way, you have things like grid search. So you can highlight grids and then try to find detections over time in a grid. So it's searching for things that happened in that grid space. I think this is a particularly cool feature, being able to like highlight something, search for a specific area. This is just great. Oh, have you continued using HDDs? Have you ever tried UniFi higher appliance with SSDs? I have tried them with SSDs, but right now I'm doing HDDs because I got a bunch of I have 6 8-terabyte drives in here. So plenty of recording retention right now. Yeah, lots of 8-terabyte drive. And they're fast. Like being able to scroll around while doing this, it just works. Definitely a part I'm really happy with is just like the overall performance. The system is just fast. Also watching it, like if you want to jump in, like these spotlights are cool. Whoops. Hey, why did it hide my spotlights? Yeah, I'm not worried about those. Most active cameras. Oh, hey, look, another squirrel in action. Shocking. We'll zoom into our little friend. And there's another squirrel. Like the quality on these is great. It's just good for squirrel watching. As you can tell, I have a lot of squirrels in my backyard. Oh, if you're using any time you're using an NVR and you have a single drive, go SSD. Do not do HDD. You're going to have a bad time. Yeah, definitely don't recommend the HDDs with single drive setups. Like if you're using it in some of the models that just have that UCG fiber, that's what I'm trying to think of. That one just has a single drive in it, so not a great D. Yeah, the phone app is really nice. That's one of the things that I really like about it. The phone app is just easy to use. So super happy with the phone app on it too. And just the ability to just find things. Being able to go here, just find animals. There we go. We check the animal box. We find animals. You want to know how often dogs bark? Not too many, but there's a decent amount of dog barking going on. So, what about siren? How often do we hear sirens? We hear sirens quite a bit over here. You know, we're in suburbia. So, there was a siren at 11:30. There was a 10 a.m. siren. I have it on a couple of them, so there's each one picked it up at different times. Yeah. Oh, bark to the future. Yeah. My neighbor's dog likes to bark. It's not terrible, but it occasionally decides barking's a thing. I wonder what makes it look at the deer. Oh, that's me. That's me moving the camera around. But overall, like I said, I'm probably gonna do an updated review, but definitely I am very happy with the overall of these cameras, like how well they work and everything else. You can also do things like this, generate heat maps. The squirrels apparently like being here. You know, we can do a 1 week heat map and it'll give you like, okay, here's where we're seeing the most motion. Hey, look, a car coming by. So you can get ideas for different time frames for 1 week. Here's the 1 day heat map. So squirrel must have ran across here. Squirrels don't like the middle of the yard. Someone asked a question I'll answer now. When you're doing the tracking, they will track people, but they won't track squirrels. I wish you would track squirrels. If I had a feature suggestion, I want a squirrel tracker, honestly. I want a good PTZ camera to watch squirrels with because that just seems like a cool thing. I've done a video. Oh, yeah, looking forward to the 180 cameras as well. Yes. Storage offloading. On my to-do list, because I'll probably do a video on that, it does have that feature. So it has archiving options. I'll be setting that up. I'm puzzled because what I noticed is the way they do archiving is a little bit different. And they don't seem to have, I don't know why, I have a UniFi NAS. Why don't they have an automated connection to my UniFi NAS? Maybe I'm missing it and there is one. So Cody, if you're like Tom, it's just a button click away, let me know because I'm curious. Because it seems like just automating the connection to their own NAS for backup would be awesome. Yes, well, why not? We'll just build a squirrel channel. I'm all for that. But back to someone else's question, third-party camera support. Yes, you can, but it's not great. I have a video I did dedicated to it. Too long, didn't watch. I wouldn't recommend it. If you need to do it, you can. If you decide to do it, you're going to get continuous recording unless you buy one of their, what is it called? There's an adapter they sell to add enhanced features to standard cameras. Just buy the UniFi cameras. UniFi has some relatively inexpensive cameras. I would just recommend using a UniFi system with the UniFi cameras for the best experience. I know that's not what everyone wants to hear, but if you're really considering it, do consider that. There is an advantage Synology has there of allowing a massive amount of different cameras to work with it. I think that's still a cool feature of Synology, but it doesn't compare to the overall ecosystem and ease of use you get having a UniFi camera system. I think you could probably get it to recognize an AI port. Someone said the thing. I already have the AI key. I'm doing an updated video soon on key. AI port is the device that allows you to enhance standardized cameras to work with UniFi. Oh yeah, and they don't recognize OMVIF of other cameras OMVIF triggers. I kind of get why. I can see the arguments for and against. And the challenge comes down to, as someone complains like, oh, they're not using open standards. You're right. You are buying into the UniFi ecosystem. There's no doubt. But from a UniFi standpoint, there's a cost. The cost is OMVIF is a bit of metadata and some streams. If you want to build a really tight integration, do you build to the OMVIF standard, or do you take advantage of the ability to greenfield it and write your own API? The advantage of writing your own API is you have a much more extensible, not limited by a standard, if you will, of what is or isn't possible with something like OMVIF, because they built all their API. So then do they maintain a second API, which would be OMVIF? That's a lot of extra programming. And honestly, what third-party NVR systems would people really use? That's kind of where the debate comes in. It's hard to say. Someone turned around on my driveway? Yeah, sometimes people turn around on my driveway, so we can track all those people too. Anyways, I think it's one of those things that's just accepted with them. If you decide to go UniFi, you are in the UniFi camera ecosystem. The good news is all of this fancy AI, people recognition, all the things it does, and like the AI key, you're talking about something that's all local. And I appreciate that. And you're talking about something that's license free. I appreciate that too. This is just not a feature you get with some of the other companies. So yeah, Sundays when I set these up. I was trying to remember what date I set them up on. When did my wife have her friend over? What was that? Yesterday? So 17th? Huh. It captures me riding my scooters. Whee! There goes Tom. My scooter's faster than the camera. So there's that. Maybe it was Sunday. I'm trying to remember. I have a good video I was going to share. Where's the helmet? When I go to the grocery store, perhaps I forget to wear a helmet. Throw that out there. Not saying it's right. I am saying it might be what happens. Oh, there's my neighbor coming over to mow my front yard. Yeah, I'm totally switched. I moved off of surveillance station completely. I mean, the quality on this camera is just top notch. Couldn't decide if he's a vehicle or a person, so it didn't track him very well. It tracked the lawn care people coming over though. So it recognized them cleaning up and getting rid of all the leaves. So this is how good the auto tracking works. Now it decides sometimes people that are closer are more important. So more important people are closer to you. Therefore, it kind of, as that person wandered out and this person was in frame, it is tricky. There's PTZs can be, a little tricky trying to make that decision. But overall, really happy with the system. Like I said, I'll be doing a video on it, doing some reviews. They've been releasing so many cameras. I'll be doing some comparisons to say, what options and which cameras might work best for you and where. I'll follow that up as well. Too many screens open. There we go. It looks weird because I look this way to look at the computer that's... Anyways, I'll answer a few more questions that people might have. FLIR cat cameras have ear support warp feature when it will show you all the motion for the day, superimpose a few second montage, just protect how the well. I don't think it has that, but it can do time lapses. So I don't think there's a feature for exactly that. Is it possible to filter out things like cars driving by? I don't want to watch a bunch of recordings of nothing. Oh, yeah. I'll bring that back over real quick. That's absolutely a feature. There's two different things you can set up. So when you're in the devices, you choose the zone and alerts. So for example, I have this set so far down. Shrink myself a little bit here. The reason that's so far down is at night, lights come across here because of the way, headlights. So I'm going to build a different zone that's less sensitive, but you can also add privacy zones. But nonetheless, you're setting it so you can... Right here's the privacy zones. Like you can say, just don't show me this, hide this if you want for privacy reasons. Maybe there's an area you don't want it looking at. So you can black out zones. But I just, from a motion and an alerting standpoint, I don't have it alerting on the street. That's why there's not as many views of those. But you can also do this and set a blackout or privacy zone as well. So it just permanently blurs that area because maybe you're in an area where that's required. But the cameras also have microphones on them, and kind of a neat feature. If you're in a state where that's a problem, you can set them to disable the microphone. And when you set them to what I believe the word it uses is permanently disable, the microphone stays disabled until you hold the reset button in the camera. So kind of novel they can do that. For compliance, because some states have rules around that, and just kind of neat. Have I looked at the UniFi Talk products? I just don't do anything with phones, so no, I haven't really looked at anything with Talk. I should bring him on the channel sometimes. I met him at the UniFi conference because you're talking about, you're going to switch from Blue Iris. The hookup. I've followed his channel for a while. I've never met the guy, but met him recently. And he's done a lot of videos on cameras, some of the best ones I've seen. He was a huge fan of Blue Iris, and I liked the videos he did on it. But even, I believe he said he switched to UniFi because UniFi has just destroyed the market because people went with Blue Iris and a lot of these different cameras so they could get a license-free, good experience. It's gotten to the point where the license-free good experience and combined with inexpensive for the amount of features you get, UniFi has dominated the last year to the point where the other camera vendors just don't have these features, are more complicated to set up. And Synology is an example of that. If you bid out a Synology system, it's not much of a price difference to the UniFi system. There's not the cost savings it was before. Therefore, this is one of the reasons they're becoming so good. Can privacy zone be solid black? Isn't it considered blocking? I have to look at what it does. I don't know if I think it may be at solid black. I honestly haven't played with it. I'll check it when I do the video because that's one of the things. Like it's not required for anything I do, but I know it is a jurisdiction thing. If you're in a jurisdiction that matters, then yes. 47 powered on hours, 47,047 hours for your 6 terabyte Skyhawk. What's your experience with Seagate versus WD for say 7,200 franchise? It's a case by case basis. It's a model by model basis because I've had a ton of Western Digitals fail, but it turns out these WD blues, like this one I'm holding, I believe this one has almost 8 years on it and it's fine. It's here because I pulled it out. It was in an NVR as well. It was in an NVR for 8 years. So I think this, let me look, make sure this is the right one. I gotta find out. Yeah, this drive has been in use. I don't think it started its life in an NVR, or maybe it did. I can't remember exactly where we acquired this, but I have a bunch of these. This drive's from 2016, so the drive's about 10 years old, and it's got 8 years of usage, and it works fine. I have a whole bunch of them over here. So these WDs, great. I have some Seagates that have about the same number of years on them that are great. But some model runs of drives have been problematic. I have had, I can't remember the model number exactly of the drives. They're over there. They have weird quirkiness. They aren't exactly dead. They work, but they keep giving lots of weird errors, and they cause drama in my ZFS pools. I've tried them not in ZFS pools, and they do seem to be flaky, is the best way I can describe it. I took a marker and wrote the word weird issues. Now, this is out of a 30, these started as a 30 drive set and not UniFi, a 45 drives Q30 box. They have slowly become worse, but not all of them, just a handful of them. I think there's like 4 or 5. Yeah, 5 drives, I think, over 5 years that have just become annoying. That they're not showing bad sectors, they just keep giving write errors and stopping once in a while. So I write the word, well, a couple of them do have bad sectors on them. They finally kicked out some bad sectors, but this is also the problem with smart's not that smart, whole different discussion. But yeah, it's a problem. Environmental factors help HDD life, but it has hit and miss, yes. Environmental factors are definitely huge. I mean, heat will kill a drive. So if you keep these in a cool environment, great. Oh, someone says it is solid black. Cool. Yeah, the hookup's a good guy. I love his stuff. Like I said, I got to meet him at the UniFi conference. Yeah, privacy. If you have privacy concerns, don't get a PTZ. Do you ever look at the firmware on them and see if it matches or if they need firmware upgrades? The UniFi system will update the firmware on the cameras automatically. Just look at Backblaze reliability stats, usually good. Boilerplate to start with when shopping HDDs. Yeah, the Backblaze reliability stats are pretty. I love that Backblaze takes the time to publish those. Oh, I definitely say if you want the fastest, best performance when it comes to scrubbing footage, go with STD. You're definitely going to get better performance than that. I have my HDD set up in RAID 10 to help, but yeah, and I'm happy with the RAID 10 configuration with those drives, but definitely, I mean, solid state versus, let's take a platter and spin it at 7,200 RPMs and float a tiny little head above it and try to accurately land on the data we want while requesting many different things that are in many different parts and we're physically moving. It's a really fancy record player. Let's just say that. The record player technology of old is the current hard drive HDD technology. Fascinating we've gotten this far with them. Obviously, they're much more precision than vinyl tracks, but we're still dealing with a physical world of mechanical moving versus an electrical world of reading the signal. So yes, STDs are always going to be more performant, generally speaking. I'm sure there's some low-quality STD out there, but pretty much I'm not aware of them. Oh. Yeah, I did update the firmware on them. That was one of the things I did was I took them out and popped them in another system and updated firmware on those drives. Didn't solve the problem at all. Neither does SpinRite. Because the drives work until they don't. That's why I called it weird issues. You can take them, you can run SpinRite on them, you can update firmware, you can even run the manufacturer's tools to walk the drive and find, it takes like forever to do, but it did it, and it didn't find a problem. and you put them in thinking they're fixed. And then like a month later, they error out, but randomly. They don't error out consistently. That's why I call it weird issues. I don't know how to solve the weird issues, but as I've replaced them with recertified of the same model, same part number, essentially drive that I got from serverpartdeals.com, every drive I've replaced, every one I've put in, 0 of the replacements have failed. 0. So, I mean, I guess it's just a bad run of drives I got, but not all of them. I mean, out of 30, I think there's four that actually were taken out. I have to count. They're sitting over there. I don't have the heart to throw them away. I know I should throw them away, but they're 14 terabyte drives. 14 or 16 terabyte. There's a lot of terabytes there. Yeah, Server Part Deals is great. No affiliate with them. I did meet them, so I got to say hi to them, and I like them as people. But I've not done any work with them other than I bought a bunch of stuff from them that I paid for, and I've been happy with it. Have you tried to drive with the bad blocks command on a Linux system? Oh yeah, I even used the tools from Seagate. They have a set of Linux tools I ran, and it didn't solve any of my problems. Oh, what kind of a consultant am I going to be? The kind you can go and fill out the hire us page for on lawrencesystems.com. So, yeah, I'm just back to being independent. Best way I would describe my consultancy is if someone wants to hire me, cool. If someone wants to, work with me on a project, awesome. But there are limitations. Someone was looking for the other day, like someone just emailed me about cabling. I have a list of partners, and I am very clear on this. You asked me a question like, hey, I'd like to hire you to, and they want me to do a big project for wiring a building. Awesome. Thank you for the opportunity. I am not a fit. I am not going to go pull cable myself. That is not among the things that Tom wants to do. I don't have a cabling crew in my back pocket, but I have friends that do own cabling companies. So I referred them to one of the friends I have that has a cabling company to do it. But I didn't refer them as in handed off the lead. I always replied to the person, hey, I don't do this. This is the person you should contact. Feel free to reach out to them. That way the opportunity for them to work with someone else is up to the person who contacted me. I don't just forward leads to anyone. So the kind of consultant I am is I help connect you with me, or I connect you with, or suggest someone, I should say, that you can connect with to help solve your problem. Yeah, I agree. It's probably a bad controller. That is kind of what I think. Like the hardware controller on the drive is possibly bad. That's the other reason I kind of saved them. I was going to flip flop the drives because one of them has bad sectors. Like that's just what's wrong with it. It's clear that one, bunch of bad sectors. I was wondering if I can take the controller from the bad sector one and stick it on the other one. I was like going to do that, but never did that. I don't know. It's one of those. Maybe I'll play with it later. Things. I have too many projects. But maybe I'll hire some people to, that's on my to-do list too. Then I got to figure out, because I don't have a building anymore, I got to hire people I know well enough to say, I guess you can come over here and play in my lab, but this is also my house. Yeah, you wonder if you reflow the solder. I don't know that it's a reflow of the solder problem, but that sounds further than I will go with those drives. Yeah, maybe, I don't know. If someone has some interesting idea that they want to do, reach out to me. Because at some point, I'm going to be very realistic. Tom's not going to reflow the solder on these drives. Tom might. Of course, it's been a couple years and I haven't, but Tom might swap the controllers on them. That's a maybe. And I mostly just want to know, will that even work? I don't know. Maybe. With the UCG fiber, is it possible to run Protect and cams on a separate VLAN? which is what I do with NVR. Yeah, you can. You can build a separate network for connecting the UniFi Protect devices. Matter of fact, that's something I have, is just that. In my UniFi dashboard, let me pull this up and drag it on over. You can set this up. So there are separate networks. And if you noticed here, I got to zoom in and make it probably easier for y'all to read. There is a UniFi Protect devices. Some of these are talking to this system. So yes, it can be configured to do that. Definitely something you can configure. They don't have to be. The Protect devices are different than the network switches. So the network switches, open up a whole can of worms, are probably best left on VLAN 1. Hate me in the comments. But the other ones are, you can put them in your own VLAN and it's not a big deal. There we go. Back to that. But yeah, absolutely. That works. Yeah, I'm going to do some setup videos because back to consulting. You know, I've already had quite a few people reach out to me and book me for consulting. But boy, some people really over-index on the IoT threat. It's probably far less a threat than you think. The number of people that seem to be really worried about their Apple TV and their Chromecast. And I'm like, why are you worried about those? I mean, I'm scared if I'm consulting with someone who thinks that, you know, Google is going to send some type of nefarious commands to your Chromecast and subject you to attacks on your own network. You are a rather important person, a person of interest to a powerful agency if you think that Google's going to write custom firmware to attack you from there. I talk a lot about threat modeling, and that is one of those things that people really take into consideration. Like they go through all these hoops of trying to get their Apple TV to talk to their phone, but make sure their phone is on a super lockdown network, and then their Apple TV's on a second lockdown network. And I'm like, or Chromecast in my case. I'm like, why? Put the phone and a Chromecast on the same network. And I'm like, yeah. I mean, and this is what a lot of people do. I mean, they have like 100 different VLANs because they want every device on there. No, I'm absolutely saying, and I don't know why you ever want to put your fridge on the internet unless you just want to see ads, because that's a thing now, I guess. But I don't know why you'd want your refrigerator on the same network as your other devices, but I don't even know why you want your refrigerator on the network. I'm having a harder time understanding that. Toasters? No, not really something I think should be connected. Maybe you do, and that's fine. Those should probably go in a separate VLAN, because I'll admit, I can't understand why. And boy, when I loved it, because there was, I can't remember, was it XKCD? Someone did a great comic on this. And then I seen the comic and I laughed. And then my wife said, hey, I bought a humidifier that has Wi-Fi. And I was like, I just seen this comic that said, why would a humidifier need Wi-Fi? And I'm like, and instantly my question is, why would a humidifier need Wi-Fi? I can't think of it. She's like, oh, I can turn it on and off from my phone. I'm like, it's a little humidifier that sits in the bedroom. And I'm like, yeah, I can reach it and turn it on and off. So anyways, I don't understand the need for all things to be on the internet. There are different types of tech enthusiasts. There's a tech enthusiast that does IoT all the things in my house. And then there's the security-minded people going, no, I want a switch on everything. The UniFi bridge doesn't support VLAN. Anything connected to it will end up on default VLAN. Well, there's a way you can tell it to go on another. There's an option to switch it to tell it to go to another VLAN. It defaults to that. You are correct. But there is a way to tell it to go on another VLAN. Yeah. How are you going to know which butter is better for your toast if you don't tell your toaster? Yeah, I don't know. I did that to learn about multicast and IGMP proxying on routers, layer 2 switches, and multicast DNS with VI, and it actually worked. Oh, yeah, there's definitely, if you want a learning opportunity, stick things that expect to be on the same network to be on different networks and figure out how to make them talk. Fun learning experience. My Homelab rack is my fridge. There you go. There is a company. You can look them up, but they're really interesting because they're racks that are essentially refrigerators. So there's no air in and out of the rack. I've only seen these in a couple places. We had a client that had one, and I was fascinated by it. We didn't put it in. It was like, that appears to be a fridge. And the way it worked was it did refrigerate. It was kind of big, but didn't hold a lot because the whole refrigeration system in it was complex. But it was kind of novel because it worked a lot like a fridge to keep the stuff dust free because it wasn't circulating air. And I was like, that's kind of a neat way to build that. So interesting. There's different ideas around that. Wonder about the new device bridge, IoT switch, etc. Yeah. Yes, 45 Drives did make a beerinator. Oh, and great video on the, thanks DPC, the great video on the TrueNAS metadata VDEV. Yeah, that was an interesting video. And I did make a mistake in the video. I kind of forget about this. I said metadata VDEVs can't be removed. If you have mirrored sets and you've done everything with mirrored, they have a way to remove them. There is a process. As long as they were added after a certain version of ZFS, and as long as all drives are mirrors, you can remove a metadata VDEV. So someone pointed it out in the comments. It's an inaccuracy. I kind of forgot about that. That was an oversight on my part. I always think of it because I don't, other than some real specific use cases, I don't run into as many all mirror sets. Mirrors are good. They're storage inefficient, but they're performant. And that's sometimes why people use them. But generally, because over the years, RAID, Z2, Z3, along with some of these special metadata VDEVs and caching, et cetera, are really fast and they're more storage efficient. So I don't see as many as I used to of mirrored systems. People always ask, why don't you do mirrored? I'm like, it's the storage efficiency problem. I don't have any hate for mirrored systems, but generally people want more storage. So there's that. Do you know how to turn off camera motion highlighting in live view for HTML output of the UniFi instant? No, I do not. I don't have a UniFi NVR instant to answer that question. I really have my eyes on the the 45 HL15 Beast. Have an RTX 3090. I want to have one in the box, so it's perfect. I love my 45 drives HL. I mean, I'm just happy with it. It's just a great box. I have to put a filter in it. It's on my to-do list. They sent me one. It's an upgrade. I just haven't gotten to it yet, but I will hopefully get to that soon. I am not the best person to ask to talk about the nuance between AMD EPYC and a Ryzen 9. I don't know the exact answer. I am less fluent on those topics. I'm working on getting more fluent, but I just don't spend a lot of time thinking about hardware, like processors specifically. I've been getting a little bit more into some of the AI stuff because I have some upcoming videos I'm going to do on it. And I'm fascinated by the Ryzen AI. I think it's really interesting, and some of the performance you get out of it is really good, but it's kind of pricey. It's kind of, I don't know. I can't really decide of how I feel about some of it. There's a channel I can't remember the name of. Maybe I can look it up real quick. But if you look up some of the comparisons of the Ryzen AI, one of the things they point out is something that I've pointed out is Apple is kind of still killing it. Ryzen AI is getting closer, but still not as fast as Apple. And the comparison I watched last night, if I can find the person's video. Ryzen AI versus M3. You know, I'll share out this guy's video. He's actually got some good videos on the AI stuff. But let me put it out there because one of the things he points out, and granted, he's using an M3, which is a really fast setup. So let me drop this in shrink this down. But what impressed me, oh, that's not at all what I wanted to do. Whoops, wrong button. Whee! Put my head over here. But he's got a lot of benchmarks he ran. However you say his name, I don't know. But he does compare directly to, this is an M3, I believe an Ultra. So not an M4, which I'm running an M4. But he starts out the tests. So this one, I'll find where it is. The tokens per second on the, I think you can just see it. The bottom one is the M3, or is the Ryzen. The top one was that. Substantial difference in performance. Like the Mac is finished and the Ryzen AI is still cranking it out. The tokens per second is not bad. Don't get me wrong. 52 tokens per second is good, but I believe it was like 80 tokens for the Mac. And that's one of the things that I'm just so impressed with some of the Apple stuff is just how much faster it is. Like it is really fast. So I'm happy to see that the Ryzen AI stuff is catching up. But the more I look into hardware, I kind of wonder, like, you really are playing a different game when you start using the Apple stuff. Yeah, Wendell Tech and Wendell Level 2 Techs and Level 1 Techs. Craft computing with hardware. Definitely way more expertise than me. Yeah, Alex's LMM tests are great. They're very extensive, very thorough. I was just, I was watching some of his stuff last night and was just curious about it because I should have been more detailed in my video comparing like my old system to this system that I'm using now with the Mac for editing, but it's night and day. I just bumped, if you didn't notice the last couple of videos I did, I bumped them up to 60 frames a second and it's still absolutely butter. I would have problems. And I mean, it's a 5-year-old Threadripper with a fast graphics card in there. I know there's newer ones out there, blah, blah, blah. But, oh, I'm sorry. So the Mac got 144 tokens versus 80. Yeah. So an M3, and obviously the M5 is out for Mac. So the M3 Ultra was able to outperform the new Ryzen AI. And I know the M3 Ultra that he had is a little bit more expensive because it's like $2,000 versus $3,000. So they're not exactly the same comparison in terms of dollar for dollar. But it gets you an idea that the M3, 2 more generations older than the latest release Ryzen AI and how much faster it is. And the big expense, because I didn't pay, my M4 is a Max? I don't know. I think my M4 here is a Max I'm using. Once again, Tom's not great with hardware sometimes, like remembering what processor I'm using right now. But that being said, the Mac Studio I'm using right now, I bought refurbished for $1,600 from Apple with a warranty. That's not that expensive for the level of performance I get. People are like, well, Tom, you should have, looked at the Ryzen AI. I'm like, first, it's more expensive. 2, it does not perform as well for video editing. And then people say, well, because you're video editing, you're using very specific codecs that are optimized in the Apple. I'm like, well, sure, I am. Of course I am. I'm creating video. I want something that does video well. It happens to do video well. It also happens to do AI functions better than an equivalently priced system. Now, I also have and I love my Framework laptop, which has the 5070 RTX in it. That thing flies. Yeah, it's just overall the price performance is really there for the Apple stuff. Have you done Windows 10 VMs to Windows 11 upgrade on VMs and XCP&G? I do have some Windows 11 ones. I didn't upgrade 10. I just installed 11. So I do have Windows 11 VMs on my XCP&G system. So I don't have any, like Windows 11 seems to work fine in XCP&G. I have no noted problems with it. I don't do a lot of Windows though. It's not, I mean, clients do. So yes, we definitely have clients who are running Windows on XCP&G. Well, everyone's so excited about Mac for AI. How would you compare that to an RTX 5090? Check out Alex's channel, the channel I linked earlier. I think he has comparisons for all of them. Alex, M3 Ultra was $4,000. No, actually. Oh, crap. Hold on. Where does video go? There it is. At the beginning of his video, he put the price up on the screen. I think it was... Where did he put the price at? It's in this video, the one I linked. $3,000. Yeah. So it's a $3,000 Apple versus a $2,000 Ryzen AI. So yes, it's more expensive. But it's more than double the speed. So it is more, but you can also do like I did by, it varies a lot. But I mean, it comes down to use case. I'm not saying I'm an Apple fanboy and everyone should buy Apple. I'm a big open source person. You pay the Apple RAM tax for sure. I can buy a high-end Mac for the same price as the 5090. Price performance is crap for a 5090 rig, and you're limited to 32 gig. Yeah, that's a big difference as well. Like when I'm looking at building an edit, well, I was, because I had to build an editing system. When I started comparing the editing system, I had to make a decision. The graphics card alone costs, for something that would perform the way I wanted, the graphics card would have cost about what I paid for an entire Mac Studio. I only have, I think, 36 gigs of RAM in this, so no, it's not. I'm not using this to run large LLMs. 36 gigs is enough to run 4K 60 editing. I've always been ingesting, I believe. Hold on. No, I was doing 4K 30. I moved to 4K 60, and it's still just butter. But yeah. So the Ultra is a dual CPU. Okay, so that's why the Ultra is our next one. See, I know I have the Pro or the Max, whichever, the one below the Ultra. But either way, I'm happy with it. I don't love that I'm in a very walled garden ecosystem. I'm much more a fan of open source. I do run Brew on this. I really like that Brew kind of bridges the gap for not having a package manager, so I can do some Linux things on here. Linux-like things, not really Linux things. So it's Pro, Max, Ultra. Okay, I got the Max. Because I got the one below the Ultra. It's been, like I said, I'm not unhappy with it at all. It's been interesting moving it. I dislike the keyboard shortcuts. I like the Linux keyboard shortcuts way better. I do like the, being able to move around between different desktops and things like that and drag windows around. Let me drag this over to here. the way it handles this is nice. The way it handles adding more desktops, like none of this is bad. I found this to be pretty usable. It's not much different actually than my Linux system at all. I wonder how long it'll take the Linux world or even Windows to catch up on Apple ARM levels of performance. I think there's a challenge of Apple's doing ARM a little bit different. So while there are systems out there, and I think the Minis Forums one was released recently, Jeff Geerling and several other people have done some videos on it. I think the software needs to catch up. The way Apple works is very, very tight integration. Like the same people that are, same company, designing the actual implementation and integration of the entire product, not just the CPU, but how the CPU connects to everything involved, is the same company designing the software for how everything connects is involved. That tight integration allows for really good performance, especially because they offer an environment and essentially a spec by which software vendors can write software. DaVinci Resolve is optimized. The software I use for my video editing, very optimized to work on a Mac. This really tight integration of them giving DaVinci, let's say like a guide, if you will, of this is how you implement with our GPUs and our CPUs the highest level of performance, has done an amazing job. That's really hard in a Linux ecosystem to do because you have a separate hardware manufacturer, then you have the people that write the stuff for the kernel, then you have the people that maybe do some optimization for ARM. They're all kind of separate. Easiest way to set up key bindings to mimic a Linux setup. You know what's stupid about Mac though? How they use the home button. That annoys me. That is, I mean, maybe there's a way around it, but man, if you know exactly how, email me vlogthursday@lawrencesystems.com, or maybe I need to just read up how to do it. Apple uses the home button different. I'm used to home jumping to the beginning of the line, but it doesn't on Apple. It does on Linux. It does, I don't know if it does on Windows. By the way, I'm using Linux, and I still use Linux since I got rid of Windows 7. That's my last Windows version I actually used. So I'm so deep into how it works elsewhere. Yeah, I'm just using home goes beginning of the line. Home goes to if there's a text box, home goes to the top of an open text box, not the beginning of the line. I don't know. Silly problems. Really first world problems. I know how to do it with the keystrokes, but when I'm switching between two different devices, it's a thing. I'm complaining about nothing at this point. I should probably wind this down. I told my son we're going to make dinner, so that's what I'm going to do next. Thank you all for joining. This was a lot of fun. If you're interested in AI stuff, do check out home button. What home button? I'm using a PC keyboard on Mac. Maybe that's my problem, is using a PC key. Like the home and end. I use those keys a lot. So there's that. That might be part of my problem. Maybe I shouldn't be. I'm not using an Apple keyboard. So maybe the solution is, Tom, use an Apple keyboard and solve your problems. By the way, I did do that. I really like this. This is the Apple trackpad. I'm thrilled with this. I was going to buy this anyways for my Linux system, but I'm really happy with how well it works over here in the in the world of Apple. This thing just works really, really well. So for better or worse, I really like this. I actually like working on a trackpad. Call me crazy, but I find it way better than working with a mouse. This is not a premium experience to me. And I know there's probably people are like, I hate trackpads. I like trackpads. I think that's a more natural with gestures and things like that, because I'm used to using the big trackpad on some of my laptops. I like the trackpad attached to this. I don't know. I use the trackpad almost exclusively. One challenge with the trackpad, I know there's a workaround for this, but I just don't. Sometimes I have the mouse. The mouse is on my desk still. I barely ever touch it. But if I have one of those ultra wide monitors, and if you start at one end and go to the other, there's only so much trackpad for an ultra wide. So if your monitor's really wide, you have to get the file from over there. Sometimes a mouse can be handier for that. I actually would say I probably found the mouse handy to do a bunch of file manipulation. If I'm doing a lot of it, dragging a bunch of files around, probably mouse. But I think 90% of the time I do this. Also, I spend a lot of time scrolling while I read. So doing the scrolling while you read thing, it's a better experience on this. Definitely that for sure. Yeah, the Mac gestures are good. But the gestures on this are very similar, if not almost the same as the gestures in Linux. So both of those I think are a good experience. Oh yeah, timeline zooming back, sliding back and forth on this, because the left, right, not just up, down, but like I want to move across the timeline. Oh yeah, this editing with a trackpad for that part, scrubbing footage, love it. Definitely happy with that. Oh, the Apple mouse supports gestures. I'm not ready to switch to an Apple mouse. I can only go so deep into the ecosystem. I've chose the trackpad. I just don't like the mouse. Aren't the Apple mice kind of not as ergonomic? I don't know. Not the Apple mouse. Isn't the Apple mouse got the stupid charging thing at the front? Or is that an old one? I have not looked at an Apple mouse in forever. I remember they had the dumb charging thing at one point. I don't know if they still do. The Apple mouse gives you carpal. Yes, that I honestly like switching to this. If you can watch me do this once in a while if you've ever hung out with me in my office, and it's because I'll get some cramping in my hand. I don't know it's really carpal. I don't have any severe pain, but after a long day, I'm like, this isn't good. It doesn't feel right. I don't have that anymore. So honestly, all right. You go with Logitech keyboards and mice. All right, from here, I'm going to wander down and end the stream. I know where the button is now. I'm getting better at this. I actually had the window pulled up. I moved things over to the right spot. So I'm going to jump out of here. Time to cook some food. Me and my son got to make dinner. Thank you, everyone, again for joining, and take care.